And hello, everyone, and welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick.
Stephen the Medium, is in the house. And I am so excited, Stephen, because today we have a show. We call the show The Quiet Strength We Never Talk About, the Unspoken Resilience. And we have our friend, somebody we both love. She's done the show many times, but she hasn't been with us for a while. Donna Carlin, who is a renowned coach psychologist. And again, most importantly, a friend of ours. And she's an expert in the subject matter. So I'm excited to have Donna as our guest to talk about that quiet strength that we never talk about and that unspoken resilience, as she calls it. And but before we get to that, Stephen, we got to talk about you, me, the weather, because, I think the entire country, most of the country is getting significant severe weather, but we're waiting for few feet of snow here. So what's going on?
I am just excellent, Elix. That's where I am. Excellent, yes. Excellent. Listen, it's, I love, as anyone who knows me knows, that I love the colder, the snowier, the better. And, I got to just say this. People that just have to make comments about the snow, oh, it's so cold. It's just like, it's winter in New England. So exactly. That comes along with winter in New England. It's just the way it is, right? So, you just embrace it, love it. And I'll tell you, if you do that, you are going to feel way better than trying to resist or fight something that you can't
change. Absolutely. Did you like that? How I just completed that sentence?
I guess so. I didn't know. I don't know how that worked.
I don't know, but that means that you and I are like so aligned.
We're in sync, baby.
We are in sync.
Yes.
Yes. So I agree with you, Stephen. It is winter. I mean, listen, I'm from Puerto Rico, so I am a tropical person, but I've learned to appreciate the beauty of winter, the beauty of the cold and the snow. And I'm not like you. I mean, you are like, the more snow, the better, the merrier. I'm okay with just, seeing a little white here and there. But listen, I get it. There's no point in complaining and suffering, about something that there's nothing we can do. Mother Nature is going to do whatever Mother Nature does.
Well, let me tell you, the last snowstorm that we probably got here on the Cape was probably like 4 inches or so. But yes. When it was coming down, I remember coming into the room to see you, and you looked at me like I was all dressed up. You're like, where are you going? Out back. You know what? These past couple of winters have not been the best when it comes to like having a lot of snow, and they've been really mild and stuff. So this winter is like a winter I remember growing up. So when that snowstorm came, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago or so, oh yeah, I booted up. I got everything on, and I headed out in the back. There's 30 acres of walking trails back there. I got to tell you, I was in my glory.
Yeah.
And I was like a dog that didn't want to come in.
Yeah. And if you're wondering, people, no, I did not go with him. I was in my glory inside the house with my jammies, nice and comfy, with our little Japanese chin,
yes.
Django right next to me. But Stephen, talk to me about what else is going on. What are you up to?
Busy.
Yes.
Busy, yes. Busy with my schedule, with doing readings, extremely busy. I'm starting a course on Wednesday, which will be not the final course, but it's going to be a while before I do another one. So I just decided to I've been doing courses, and usually I do like 3 a year. I don't do any in the summer, because it's summertime and people go away. But I always do usually 2 in the spring, like now winter and spring, and then 1 in the fall. But I'm going to do this one, and then just take a break for the rest of the year. No more courses because I want to do other stuff, and there's a lot to put in for these courses. So, but you know what, this core group
we have a busy agenda.
Yeah, this core group that always comes to these classes and these courses are fabulous, and I love doing it. It's not like I don't love doing it, but I just want to get other stuff done.
Yeah, and I love that you're busy, and I love that life is happening exactly the way you want life to happen. Stephen, I want to just briefly shifting here, because I don't want to forget. I want to acknowledge. So you and I often talk about, like living life in the moment, like really, yesterday is done, right? There's nothing we can do about yesterday. Tomorrow is really an illusion. It's not happened. So and we often look at tomorrow with the arrogance that we're gonna get there, but the truth is we don't know. We never know, and so all we got is today. And yesterday, I found out that a very, very dear friend of mine, Alan Cormier, passed away mid-December, and it just took me by surprise. Alan is somebody I've met years ago. He's really, Stephen, the very first person who hired me as an executive back then for the Frontier Group in Boston. And him and I, over the years, we stayed in touch. We connected. He transitioned from executive to being a coach like me, and we just had a great relationship. He was a bit older than me, but he was he was like a very good mentor and somebody who over the years was so kind and so awesome. And I was just in shock to hear that he passed away. So I'm just want to just send Michelle, his wife, our thoughts and prayers, and just as a reminder to all of us that, listen, guys, life is, it's just very precious. So live the moment and be present in the moment, and don't allow yourself to get lost in some narratives that have nothing to do with what it is that you have right now. So that's all I wanted to say, Stephen. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I was fortunate enough to meet Alan years ago.
You did?
Just because of you. And I always liked him. He was such a good guy. He was a very I don't know, like very fair guy, but someone who really I don't know, sort of took you under his wing, but it just, I'm sure it was just not just you, but it was just who he was. So it is very shocking and very sad, because both of us, have him as friends on Facebook, and I know that's how I think you found out. So it's very sad. But I'll tell you what you just said. If you're like me, and like almost every day you're doing readings and you're talking to dead people, the great thing about that is you get reminded every single day, or I do anyway, from people who have passed away that, have those unfortunate, not that there's a lot, but those regrets that they mentioned. And I just posted something recently that one of the top 3 things I hear all the time is, I wish I had more fun. I wish I was more silly. I just wish I just, threw caution to the wind and had fun.
Yes. And the golden nugget behind that is, like, stop wishing for stuff.
Yeah.
And stop being that right now. You remind me of that daily, and I think we remind each other of that daily. Like,
yes.
Stop wishing, stop hoping, stop thinking, someday I'm going to do that, someday I'm going to have that, someday. Listen, someday it's right now, because that's the only thing that we got. We don't have, someday doesn't exist. The someday is right now. So
I agree.
Yeah. Anything else going on? Because we do have an exciting show coming up and an awesome guest also coming up, Stephen.
I don't. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, there's always something going on. Always good. I am doing an event a week from Sunday, the one I do usually every 6 to 8 weeks or so, and I just posted something on social media for people that I have received like three messages asking, is there a cancellation list, because it's sold out. It's a small group, everyone gets read, so everyone wants to come to it. But I just had to post that there's, because it is smaller, there's no cancellation list. But it's a great thing that I have it filled, and that I get to do this, and I know you come with me, and I love it. And Erica and Adam, who own the venue, Dunn and Sons, are fabulous. They're so
Yeah.
fabulous.
In
Yeah.
fact, we're gonna see Eric and Adam later on today. So how
Well, we
exciting
hope.
is that? No, we are. She already told me that. They'll
Oh,
be
I didn't
there.
know
So,
that.
yes,
Oh, that's
and,
wonderful. I love
see,
that.
Stephen, what I do behind the scenes
Yes.
is I reach out to Erica to make sure that the menu offers stuff that you eat. See, that's what I do. You don't even know what I do.
I
For
don't.
you.
I do not, and I very much appreciate it. Clearly, I just show up and look pretty. That's it.
Well, that you do, and you do quite well.
Yeah.
So, so
Listen, everyone that knows you knows that that's what you do. You're always, always looking after me and anyone else that's in your circle. So just like Alan, we just talked about.
yes, yes, yes,
You
yes.
know?
It's a different menu, so I wasn't sure, and I'm like, I gotta make. I know we love the place. We've been there for dessert and drinks, but hey, I gotta make sure that Steven has options. And so
Because I'm a pescatarian.
you are a pescatarian, and and so I just needed to make sure. And she, of course, responded right away, making sure that you are indeed
Taken care of.
gonna be taken care of, which
love
is the
it.
same thing, because Vessel, we love Vessel. He manages Zero on Sales, another favorite of ours. We're going to a wine dinner for Valentine's, and of course, Vessel was like one of the things he said is, I tell Steven we love him and we're gonna take good care of him. So we will
love
have
how
options.
I love that. I love how, because it's a 5 course, if one of the courses is meat, I love how they just do whatever they need to do to give me something that's not just like a side thing, like, oh, well, let's throw this in. It's always fancy and it's always amazing. But we know Zach, who owns the place too. So, and we're there so often. It's a great place in P-Town.
It is a great place. But right now, the one thing that we must do is we must go into our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the quiet strength we never talk about, the unspoken resilience with guest Donna Carlin. We will be right back. And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Attorney Masick.
Attorney Masick, who's also my amazing husband and known worldwide as Stephen the Medium. And today we are talking about strength, but not the kind of strength that looks like pushing forward, powering through, or turning pain into a motivational story. Sometimes strength looks like standing still long enough to survive what you did not choose. It looks like holding steady when everything in you feels tired. It looks like getting through the day without needing to inspire anyone else. Yet so many people are exhausted by the pressure to be inspirational, productive, or resilient in performative ways. Being told to bounce back, pivot, level up, or turn struggle into purpose when all they really doing barely is holding on. So today's conversation is about the quiet strength that we rarely celebrate, but that so many people are living every single day. And for that conversation, I am super honored and proud and happy to be joined by our friend and renowned coach psychologist, Donna Carlin. Because Donna is an experienced coach, an experienced leader who had decades of experience supporting other leaders and human beings through complexity, loss, and change. So, Donna, I'm so grateful to have you with us for this very important conversation, and welcome back.
It's really good to be here and to hear you guys.
It's
so thank
been
you for having
so. Thank you. So, Donna, why is this conversation an important conversation to be sharing with our audience, our listeners, in particular, in the times that we're living today?
When people talk about strengths, they're usually picturing something bold, visible, really huge, like the big wins and the comebacks and the moments that make really great stories that you read about. But most of the real strength I've been seeing in people doesn't look anything like that. And I think we need to talk about it. It's quieter, it's slower, and most of the time it goes completely unnoticed. It's really about the strength we build not by choice, but necessity, the kind that shapes us from the inside out. And I think it's time that we name it and talk about it.
How do we do that, and how do we shift that paradigm, Donna?
I think we're already doing it. Often it's really standing still in the middle of complexity and chaos. And we're not even paying attention. Like some people will say it's surviving. Other people will say that it's, holding their breath and waiting for it to pass and just trying to exist. But that's not it. If you look back at those moments in your life, you're really showing strength, internal strength. And when we recognize that quiet strength in ourselves, we stop underestimating what we've already survived. And I think that's what's happening here. We underestimate, we make excuses. When people commend us for living through hell of whatever kind they were living through, they might just push it off saying, wasn't a big thing, or I had help, or I knew that it couldn't last forever, so I just held my breath and waited for it to pass. But they weren't doing that. They were navigating it even quietly. And I think there's a myth that we live by, that it's a form of emotional endurance. And it's not pushing, it's powering through and staying present in the middle of that uncertainty, the grief or transition or whatever. And it doesn't look heroic, but it really is.
Donna, what I'm hearing, right, that some of that, if not all of that, comes from, those hustle culture definitions of resilience that we've been conditioned to, right? How would you coach somebody to let go of some of those definitions, in particular, about how to be strong, how to be powerful, how we should, overcome through power, if you will. How do you coach somebody to let go of that and perhaps reinvent or recreate a whole new framework that allows them to just be present and be still?
Like, quiet strength is what you build when no one's watching. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge detail. You're not doing things because somebody's watching what you're doing and they're going to command you or criticize you. You're not doing something or being as resilient as you could possibly be because somebody will tell you that that's exactly what you need to be or who you need to be. That's a huge distinction. So it's that courage of getting through one more day, one more task, one more responsibility, even when there's no recognition. And it's absolutely knowing what you're made of. There are certain times in our lives where we wish that there was a magic wand, or we wish we could go back in time where something didn't happen, or we made a different choice. And we really struggled powering through those choices. And in coaching them, it's helping them see the changes that they're making, no matter how small they are. I had one client who was constantly measuring herself against what her opinion or viewpoint was of a successful director in the role that she was in. She was beating herself up all the time, and it was depleting her, unbelievably depleting her. And you know what I did? I told her to go home and look at, the rooms in her home and move something that would drive her nuts every time she passed it. So if she had a coffee table in her living room, put it on an angle instead of perpendicular to the couch, that kind of thing. And it was really funny because she said, it's going to drive me crazy. It'll drive my husband crazy. I said, just do it. I want you to be able to live through something that is not expected every time you walk by it. That's the easiest thing, is to have control over what you're moving and still having it drive you nuts. And she did. She went home, and she said every time she walked by the living room, it was straightened again because her husband thought she just moved it to vacuum or something like that. So she would move it again. And finally he said, why in the world are you doing that? It doesn't belong there. She said, exactly. Because we don't always have control over the things that happen in our lives. If I can't figure out how to manage looking at a table that's not aligned the way we used to have it, then I'm in bigger trouble than I thought. Mm. And then we look at what else is going on in your life that you want to control and you want to align. It's not within your power to do. So how do you power through it? How do you laugh in spite of what's going on? So it depends on what they're living, obviously, and who the client is and what their life and their work is revealing about themselves. The bottom line is to be so aware of your response to things, not the things themselves, that you could come to terms with them, laugh about them, become stronger because of them.
Donna, I love what you just said. I recently speaking to a friend who was diagnosed with a potential cancer diagnosis. They don't know yet, but he's feeling frantic and scared, and and what I'm hearing you is how would you coach him in letting go of feeling that way, because there is no control. He has no control over the diagnosis or the outcome. What would you say to him?
Well, speaking as a 2-time cancer survivor, I could tell him to, A, pay attention to the rest of his life. If you're so focused on what a diagnosis might be or what the outcome might be, you're paralyzed and you're not living the life that you have right now. You are way more than the potential cancer. The second thing is to be able to not go through the multiple scenarios. And I know that's really hard. Like, what if it's this and what if it's that, and how am I going to manage, and maybe I need to get my affairs in order. What was interesting was when my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer a long time ago, that's when I was talking to the head of the regional cancer centers here to bring coaching into the oncology unit so that the oncology nurses could coach while they were treating and to teach them how to do that. And he said what was interesting in his research was those that have cancer that's 98% curable go way more down the tubes emotionally than those that are palliative care, that have no possible good outcome. They come to terms with it very quickly. They create a support system. They do what they have to do, and they get on with their life as long as they have it. But those that are diagnosed with curable cancer have a much harder time. And he's still trying to figure out the why. And my dad was one of those people. It just paralyzed him hearing the word cancer. And it's true. You wait until that diagnosis, and then you say to yourself, now what? Now what is you live your life right now. You do that which gives you joy right now. You surround yourself with people who will be your support system and nourish you, your soul, your emotions, your physicality, and you tell the rest of the world to take a hike. And you don't listen to those who have your best interests in mind and tell you what to do. Get the right support system, medically, emotionally, everything else, to support you in the choices that you're going to be making. That's the bottom line. And you know what? I'm not going to say I'm sorry to hear this. I am sorry to hear this. As you probably remember, my first years in coaching was working with terminally ill cancer kids and their families, and that's hell, watching your 1-year-old knowing that they're not going to survive. But, this is different. And look at what you have right now and enjoy it and be grateful for it. And the rest will take care of itself in the way that it needs to take care of itself. Just make sure that you have the right people around you. That's the best coaching that I could give anybody.
I love that. And I know your words are going to make a world of difference, Donna, for not just him, but for everyone who's listening that can relate to that story. It doesn't have to be about potential cancer diagnosis. It can be about anything in life that you are struggling with. But listen, we do have to take a commercial break. Donna's hanging there with us. There's plenty more to talk about, and I'm sure Stephen can't wait to jump in as well. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium,
who is my husband, an attorney, and the best part of my life. And today we're talking about the quiet strength that we never talk about, that unspoken resilience. And for that, we have a renowned coach, psychologist, and our friend, Donna Carlin. Welcome back, Donna.
Hi there. Good to be back.
Happy to have you back. And Stephen has stuff that he wants to talk to you about. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hi, Donna. We're so excited you're here. Listen, Donna, listening to this subject and this conversation, one of the things that sort of it brought me to is when I teach my courses, there's one of the classes that I will have people go back and select 5 accomplishments. It's in reference to what we're going over and whatnot. One of the things that just really struck a chord with me when you start talking about the quiet strength is that I remember I did it also. For me, as I always do with my exercises, I want to try it first and then I give it to the students. And I remember, I think one of the big accomplishments that immediately that came to me was, I graduated law school and I became an attorney. And then the other one was moving to Boston. Listening to your conversation about quiet strength is, I think, pretty remarkable in the sense that I never went to, until just now, to a place of, well, what about the days after my dad took his life and for many, many years I blamed myself and how I got through those days, that quiet strength. And when I got goose pimples when I thought about that, because that compared to as much as I loved, and it was not easy to get through law school, but the former is so much stronger than the latter, if you will. And I wanted to just sort of bring that to your attention and thank you for that. Thank you for this subject. And now I can actually use what I heard. And when I, subsequent courses, when I talk to people about doing or bringing up accomplishments, to maybe focus a little bit more in depth of looking at those quiet strength accomplishments. I hope I'm making sense here.
You're absolutely making sense because we're doing it and we're not paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. We tend to look at what you talked about, your milestones, those celebrations that you have when you achieve something that was difficult that you never thought you'd be able to do. This kind of strength, this kind of resilience isn't a posture or recognizing a milestone. It's a persistence. Mm-hmm. It's navigating through. I can't imagine what it was like in the aftermath of your dad and him taking his own life. I can't imagine. I've had 2 people in my life who I think of still all the time who did take their lives, and it just hit me like 1,000 bricks that it wasn't my parent. It's not the same. And you could look completely functional and still be carrying something really, really heavy. One does not determine the other. This quiet strength is what gets you putting one foot in front of the other when you wake up in the morning and working your way through the day. That's what it is. And it's saying, I didn't want to have to deal with this, but I'm going to continue living my life. You could, and some people will have excuses or rationales as to why. I want to that person to have known that I did something in spite of what I was living, so they would be proud. External validation, that kind of thing. That's not what this is. This is the quiet strength that navigates us subconsciously, that gets us through the hardest times in our lives or our deepest, darkest fears. And when we take a step back and we really reflect on what that was, it's extraordinarily powerful. I always recommend to people dealing with trauma or chaos in their lives to write an insight journal at the end of the day. 3 pages. I don't care if it's gibberish. of what occurred, how you related to it, how it hit you, how it didn't hit you, how you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. All of those insights into how you navigated your life that day. And I just find when you go back to it a year later and you read it, you just go, wow, I didn't even know that I was made, of this stuff, that I was able to navigate this and come out the other side. So kudos to you, Stephen, because, really, that's probably, and I hope it is, the worst thing that ever happens to you in your life.
No, thank you, Donna.
Yeah. And Donna, as a follow-up to that, how would you, or what would you tell our listeners, how can they honor that quiet strength while also learning not to minimize their own pain? Because again, they've been told you got to be the strong one. They've been told, you have to, the pain is what makes you, overcome, or you got to pivot or whatever. How do you honor one while recognizing the other and letting go of the other?
That's a complex question that you just threw at me, because there's so many different ways of answering it.
I know you're used to complex questions, so go for it.
Yeah. I used to like you, So it is complex, because sometimes it's I should have done something differently, or I should have been stronger. Or when people say to me, "Oh, you're strong, you'll get through this," and I get totally ticked off. Like, who are you to minimize what I'm living? And the rationale for you is, "Oh, you're strong, it's not a big deal." The smallest things in the world could set you off. It doesn't have to be cancer. It doesn't have to be tornado hitting, our house. It doesn't have to be any of that. Or my ex trying to bankrupt me in court for 12 years as we were going through our divorce, and, me trying to take care of Michael through his surgeries and everything else. There's always stuff that's going on in our lives. And when people who, we think are friends or family members say, "You're strong, you'll get through this," that doesn't help. It's not helpful. It's really not helpful. What is helpful is turning to that person saying, "How could I help? Is there anything I could do?" I don't care if it's cooking a meal for them. And from the person's point of view, it's saying, "Yes, I'm strong, but there's a limit to my strength." And, this is the kind of strength that you build when you have no choice to keep going, but to keep going. Because what's the alternative? The alternative sucks. Worse than the thing that you're dealing with. I would say ask for the help that you need. Not ambiguously, specifically. Say to them, if you really want to help, I would so appreciate if you pick my kid up at the end of the day from school, so I don't have to go out. I don't have to get dressed, especially if you're dealing with treatments and everything else. Or if you don't mind, if you're cooking for your family, could you make a little bit extra and drop it off so there's one extra night that I don't have to cook? And I could take a deep breath. And you know what? They're going to appreciate the fact that you're actually asking for something specific, or not saying, no, I'll let you know when there's something, that would be helpful, because you never will. It's almost never that you do. So be vulnerable. I guess that's part of my answer. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and ask for help.
Yeah. I love that, Donna. I wish I had this conversation with you. I lost my aunt. He was a mother figure for me. I was in my early 20s, so about 10 years ago. And Donna, that laughter seems a little sarcastic in the background. Anyways, but this was like losing a mom. And I never, ever forget, Donna. My heart was broken into pieces. And somebody at her wake actually said to me, "You cannot be emotional. You need to be strong because you need to be the one that supports your mother." And
Mm.
I remember just feeling like I don't get to I don't get to embrace the sadness, the pain, the hurt that I'm going through because somebody told me I needed to be strong.
So, you know what my answer would have been?
Hmm.
I could be both.
Yes. Oh,
You
I
know,
love that. I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
years and years ago, when my grandmother was alive, she was an incredible influence on all of us. We still talk about her all the time. And she looked at me one day when I was visiting. She lived in Montreal, and she told me not to love Michael so much. And I looked at her like she was from another planet. I couldn't understand where that was coming from. And I asked my mother, like after she had passed away, I asked my mother, what did she mean by that? Don't love him so much. So my mother said she's afraid if anything happens to Michael that you will never survive. So she wants you to hold back now. She was worried about your survival. I said she wouldn't tell me. Like when I asked her, how could you say something like that? Everyone has a different viewpoint. Like she knows what Michael means to me and was going through all these surgeries, right, for 30, 40 hours. And, what if he didn't come out of it? You just won't survive. I would have survived. It would have been a different Donna. I would have survived. I mean, God forbid that should ever happen. It's really something when somebody says, you need to be strong. When my dad was in palliative care, I remember that my brother was trying to be a doctor, not a son. And my mother is an amazingly strong woman. However, this was her partner for almost 70 years. So you're sort of paralyzed by that. And I knew his finances were a mess. So I took 6 weeks off work and I went to Montreal, stayed with them, well, with her. He was in the hospital in palliative care. And I shared stories with him every day. And I documented them and promised him I'd write a book for the family after he passed, which I did. And I got all their finances in place every evening till way into the early morning hours. I'd be working on their finances so she wouldn't have to, and he could go with the feeling that they're taken care of and she won't be left with a mess.
Yes.
And the doctors started coming to me saying, how could you stay so centered? We need to understand. And my response to them was, I speak to my parents every single day or email them if I can't be speaking to them. Like when I was working in Australia or whatever, 16-hour difference in time, it wouldn't be like a Zoom call or whatever. And I am present with them whenever I'm speaking to them or with them. I have no regrets. I can't keep him. I honored him as long as he was alive, and I'm very comfortable in that. A lot of people have a hard time, and they go into such heavy grief because they wish that they had spent more time with that loved one. Just do it now.
Well, I'm sure Stephen has plenty that he can share about that. But the first thing, Donna,
Yeah.
is we do need to take a small commercial break because I was so in tune listening to you. I missed the break, but let's take a commercial break. Hang in there, Donna. We will come back to this amazing conversation. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, my husband. And today we're talking about the quiet strength we never talk about, that unspoken resilience with the amazing, world-known Donna Carlin, who is a coach psychologist. Donna, welcome back. Donna, I know the time has gone by so fast. So let me ask, I definitely want to ask yet another thought-provoking question that you're probably going to roll your eyes, but I know what you're going to give me, it's going to be fabulous. What quiet act of strength, or let me frame that differently. How have you personally practiced that quiet strength recently?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. It really is, because I look at where will I be the most. I don't like to use the word value, but I will right now, so I don't search for another word. Where will I bring the most value to the person I'm with right now? Because it's not always getting people to move forward. Often it's the in-between, the space after life changes, but before you land where you want to go. And I need to do that for myself as well. I look at the strength is in living with the fact that I might not have the answer. And that's a really hard place to be for your own life. There's a lot that's going on in the family dynamics, where I really need to be able to stay not only resilient, but psychologically balanced, and not step in and fix things for everyone else. And that's really hard in a family setting, because I get phone calls from cousins saying, I know that you're going to understand. What do you recommend? What is your advice for this? And I don't want to be responsible for the choices that they make, because even if it's a great choice and they succeed, it's because of me. I'm the one who told them to do it. I want them to be responsible for all their choices and to be able to navigate the results of that. So that's what's hard for me very often, especially in the work that I do, is to be able to stay silent, be a container, and mirror back without my own reflection being involved, in that. So, that's one that comes to mind right away.
And honestly, Donna, what I love in your answer is, it's something that I speak very often about. When people say to me, hey, as a coach, do you practice, what it is that you coach people about? And I say, I wouldn't have it any other way. Life is happening to me too. And if I'm not walking the walk, how can I talk the talk? So I'm in the game, and I'm in the game with, my clients in the same way they're in their own game. And I love your answer, because it just speaks to that, Donna. You're also in your own game, and you're walking the walk. And that's what I believe, it's what makes you so transparent and so powerful in who you are as a coach and as a human being, because you are an amazing human being. Donna, as we close the show, I want to give you an opportunity just to give our listeners, a golden nugget, something that they can walk away with, that they can say, you know what, I listened to this show, and this is my takeaway. What would that be for today, Donna?
I guess if you're in a space where life feels heavier than usual, this is what I would leave them with. Strength isn't always loud, and it's not always decisive. It never almost looks like the dramatic stuff that we celebrate and that we go out for dinner for and everything else. Most of the time it looks small, and they're unremarkable choices, like getting out of bed on a day you'd rather hide. I'm sure all of us have dealt with that. Showing up for someone when your own heart is really tired. Holding steady when the ground underneath you is moving. and it's moving in a direction that you don't want to take. It doesn't get applause. It's not what carries us through chapters that shape us. So if you're not leaping forward, and people really beat themselves up for that, if you're simply enduring what you're living, don't discount that, because there's nothing weak about staying present in a life that you're still figuring out. It's not about being behind or failing. It's called doing the brave work of being human, and that in itself is a strength. So that's what I would leave them with. Just be human. Be yourselves.
Yeah. I heard loud and clear, strength isn't always loud or decisive. Right. And I love that, Donna. Donna, thank you so much for everything that you contribute to our show, to the world, to humanity. It really is our pleasure to have you here, and I look forward to having you again and again and again.
I would love it, and thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it, and you guys, for sure.
We certainly appreciate
Thanks, Donna.
And as we close, yeah, thank you. And as we close today's conversation, I want to leave you with this truth. You do not owe the world a comeback story. You do not owe anyone inspiration from your pain. And you do not have to turn survival into success to be worth it. Of compassion. Sometimes strength is simply choosing to stay, to breathe, to rest, to hold steady in the middle of something you did not ask for. And if that is where you are right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not weak. You're not behind. You're not failing. You are practicing a kind of resilience that does not get applause, but deserves deep respect. So this week, instead of asking yourself, what more should I be doing, try just asking yourself, what do I need to feel supported with today? And again, remember what Donna just said, strength isn't always loud. Thank you, Donna, for sharing your wisdom, your heart with us today. And to everyone listening, thank you for being part of this conversation. And next week, I believe we have Stephen the Medium. Stephen, confirm that and tell people where they can find you.
Well, you are correct. Next week will be Through the Static, my show, and Elix will be here with me too. And you can find me under Stephen the Medium via my website and social media, and you can go there just to check out what's going on and book appointments and just have a good time.
Great. And you can find me at Coach Elix. And by the way, if you're listening to our show for the first time and you love our show, you can go to, we record the show, we turn it into a podcast, and you can go to anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast and just type Get a Grip with Coach Elix, and you get all of our recorded shows. We have over 200 of them. And but every Friday at 1 p.m., with the exception of the last Friday of the month, we're here together having a conversation that is designed to inspire you. And that last Friday, Stephen the Medium takes over, and he certainly is going to have a conversation that's going to be inspiring to you and your loved ones. With that said, stay safe, everyone. We do have a really heavy duty storm coming our way, so stay safe.
Yes.
And have a wonderful weekend. See you soon.
Bye-bye.